Hi, and welcome to today's topic about self-care. Self-care for me, a technique or something that is really worth to talk about because it's often seen as something that we have to do in the outside, that we have to process. And sometimes we think about self-care in a way that we have to do some therapies, that we have to go into some massages or something we need to process or we can't do because it's something that it's too far away or it's too expensive. But at some point we think or we are in a belief that we need this. And actually, it's not about that. Self-care for me begins a lot earlier. It begins at the point that if we are in a condition of pain, of chronic pain, and of autoimmune disease with symptoms that keeps us home in summer, we can go out in certain times, or we can't go out with friends because we have to eat something that's a risk for us, or we need to wear clothing in a way that we also look like stamped in the outside. But self-care is also something that when these feelings are building up, when we are beginning to feel in a way of shame or guilt, or we judge ourselves for our conditions, and we don't feel free, we don't feel good about, we feel like guilty because we are not able to do a job in a way we had, or have an exercise or something we need to do, or a job we have to do, and we need to say I can't, and then we go home, or we feel sick and we go to bed, and then we are in bed, we are thinking in spirals that we not reached what we wanted and all that, all these things are, for me, these key parts of awareness to set into self-care. And for me, hypnotherapy or pain therapy and healing, both of these aspects are such a great, huge room of experiencing for myself as well every day again. And often for healthy people, if they say no, it's quite an acceptance in saying no, to say, oh no, I'm better in that, that's not my thing, but I know someone who is really good in that, and that's okay. But for us who are in a circle of disability to do that, what we are asked for in that moment, instead to say, no, that's not my thing, we feel kind of shamed, we feel kind of guilty, and we feel like I should be able to do that. But actually, to make peace with that feeling, to accept, to come in an acceptance, in a freedom with these experiences, that is the basic of self-care for me. For sure, I can go into tools and techniques and meditations, and for me, for a long time as a nanny in nursery, I was all the time in a way of giving these pains and challenges kind of form and structures. And I could change the forms, the structures, and giving the brain a belief or an understanding that brought it in a better process. But it is an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process, like taking medication as well, who is often relating that over time I need more and more and more of that. And for me also in my processes, there were points that my brain was not able to access to my pictures, and I had to change them. I had to set new stories up, new processes up. And for me, this sort of being not able to change it then brought more and more me to a point that I had to accept in acceptance. And for me, these healing sessions, which is true hypnosis as well in my spiritual development, which is a huge part of hypnotherapy, and we know that from Newton, from a lot of also great teachers. For me at the moment, the teachers are not so relevant in their teaching, because I am in my own processes and I don't want to give a lot of understanding or ideas from other into my processes and kind of mix it up with the pureness that comes for me. Because for me, this process I'm in, this hugeness of whatever I want to access to, opens in a way. We know it, hypnotherapy, from regressive hypnotherapy to go into further lives to access, but it's also a spiritual it's a spiritual form of access. If we are going if rather we're going in backward experiences or ascended series, further life experience, we can access to everything. It can access to the spirit in that way. It's the spirit of my past, right? It's a spirit of me in this life. So I can also access to the spirit of my death animals, cats, dogs, and I can access to loved ones, my grandparents. I can access to everything I want, to the angels, to divines. We are all. It not need to be in a way of religious thinking. It's such a huge space of openness, and for me, this idea not being alone, and that my handicap I have is also a learning process, and I have to understand my learning. And that's a part of self-care, that it's a way, it's a pathway, it's a kind of life, way of life, lifestyle. I would say I'm not talking about the therapy. I'm really in that lifestyle of working with myself every day, and even when I'm not feeling good, these aspects of why I'm not feeling good now, what's the feeling I have now, and can I relate to that? In what way can I relate to that? that I can not change actually the condition in a way of seeing it in a form of pain or allergy or symptom, in a form of what's behind. It's the frustration in it. Is it the guilt in it? Is it shame in it? Is it what is the emotion I am in through that? And there is the self-care, what the self-care begins. I am not someone who can generally say now we go in a process and that's released. It's always a sort of process that can go over longer times. For me, this time now of my pathways is over 30 years long, and I was a long time in these moods of forms and figures and colors and things that were very helpful tools. And now in the opening also with the healing, what you can see on my YouTube channel in the frequency healings and energy healings I'm doing almost every 2 weeks, or in the guidances I'm also offering once a month here on that channel. They are also available now in English. Now, these are the things that brings me to such a big, great spectrum of doing or relating to thing. And for me, self-care is also a sort of finding someone I can really talk about what's challenging me in the moment, and especially when I am going into these huge spaces of opening and in mediality, in spiritual pathways, that's so huge. Or also when we can say it's crazy or that's not existing, but if we are dreaming all the time and feeling haunted or things like that, televisions are full of these stories about haunted houses or demon things. And we can say it's crazy and that's not the truth, but if we are in and if we are feared about, it's the fear we have to deal with. And it doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter how we are relating to that. And in the moment we think that's crazy and I can't talk to anybody and it's impossible. And it's just, they always say I'm totally crazy. And that builds up more and more fears and more storylines. And this is self-care as well, to have someone. You will not be the only one. You have exactly what you're experiencing in the moment, and you don't trust to talk. You won't be the only one. And the further the times go, the more of these experiences will probably develop. We are so connected through the medias, to the internet, that we know about the stories that are going on. And so, if there is someone we can talk and we can trust, it's just a help. It can be a help, and how we relate, if that's a spiritual cleaning, if there's a house cleaning or whatever it needs to be done to feel better, it is at the end a feeling that feels more comfortable than it is right now. And that's for me all about in self-care, to feel more comfortable as it is right now. And especially in health conditions, when I look at the point how I was in 2019, 17, 19, and now there are such huge differences. I never believed that I could reach that will happen. I had no idea to come to such a point. I was not even thinking about that. For sure, I'm still not able to walk more than 500 meters in a row or things like that. But these are the things, everyone has limits. Every person has limits, has a frame, and in that frame we are kind of experiencing, and the one is experiencing in one room, the other one is experiencing in another room. When I talk with the physician, I have no idea what physics is or all this knowledge is. I'm not a doctor as well, so I'm not studied that stuff. So it's not really when I say, oh, I can't help you because I'm not that, it's accepted. But because I have a handicap and I can't do whatever is asked for me in the moment, or someone is asking me in the moment, it's an expectation from them, and I can say no. It's my feeling to say no that negotiates that expectation. Uh, in so many situations, it's totally normal to have that. And that's a little bit what I want to bring up here in the experience as well of self-care, because that is for me the aspects where self-care begins. Now, yeah, I was so blessed in last time to hear about the mother who has this handicapped child, a daughter who is not able to move, who is not able to talk. And she was talking about the access in a spiritual way as well, to tune into her spirit, to tune into her soul, and to talk to her over this spiritual way. And then not only she could talk to her and tell her what she wants, the daughter was also talking to her in that way. And all these aspects of rational mind and spiritual development and spiritual pathways, it's such a huge gap. And at the same moment, something that we can access and connect to in such a clear, understandable way. It's such a helpful tool that I really like to talk about here, and to really encourage you to look at the things I opened here on the channel, or to really send me an email, give me a note, and talk to me directly. I'm still someone who really wants to take you on hand and not really give everything openly out, because it can relate to the opposite direction as I wanted, because I don't know what your condition, your experience are, where your fears and beliefs are, and I don't want to develop something that's not healthy. And that's the reason why I go really basically into the tools, also with my guidances in hypnosis, in a relaxed state. And for sure, I can bring you from your fears and maybe distrust or doubts you have about all these therapy forms in a path that it's perfectly good for you. It has nothing. There are so many misunderstandings about all these things, who are spoken up and down in many parts, and I don't want to go too deep into that. Really unnecessary fears, and yeah, it's a part of self-care to have faith and trust with ourselves. And if we don't, probably there is a reason to begin a new process, to start to do something new and to experience it in a different way. And if you like to, let me know. And I'm looking forward to see you next week here for the next healing. And in 2 weeks, I guess it's a new guidance. It's always open in evening at between 8 and 9 o'clock in the evening. I give them openly up, and yeah, I would look forward to keep in touch with you, to connect you, and help you out, whatever your experiences are with your conditions at the moment. So have a good time, and see you. Thank you. Bye-bye.